Earlier today, I recorded a video and I kind of sat on it. I thought, no. So I recorded another one, sat on it, and here I am recording this video. I guess just with all the stress that I'm feeling right now, I don't know how to put it to words. I'm just not in the mindset. Hello, today is July 2nd, 2020, and the time is 2:02 p.m. This video is inspired somewhat by a comment someone had made not too long ago. And it has to do with the liberal arts theoretical pseudoscience of psychology. And I've explained in other videos and even showed evidence of my position on this and the truth about this alleged profession. And I do understand that this alleged profession has the monopoly in society today with regards to people accepting we'll call it an alleged professional opinion. And that's all it is. It's just someone's opinion. And they might have a degree in some sort of nonsense to simply elevate their opinion to appear to have more weight. And it's unfortunate because we see this with any type of profession where just human beings have a title and all of a sudden their opinion seems to matter more than anything. Kind of reminds me of in my training days when you look at martial arts. For example, somebody might have in the Japanese arts they're black belts, and in the Chinese arts they're sashes, but it'd be I guess a red sash. And I remember once Bruce Lee saying, I'm going to paraphrase it because I can't remember the exact quote, but basically someone's rank, like a belt or a sash, doesn't mean anything. It's how they perform. And I'm tying this into, say, for example, someone having a knowledge base. But I'm digressing here. So getting back to the accepted illusion that someone's opinion with this alleged profession is more than someone else's. And again, there's even people within this profession who are saying the same thing that I'm saying. It's really just nonsense. And when I look at what I went through this past 7-year nightmare, and I look at all the professionals, for example, in the beginning who just simply accepted what the female was saying and the support network she had, and them filing affidavits saying, in their professional opinion, and I have no reason to not believe, and believe again, the definition, the proper definition is to make an uninformed conclusion, but anyway. And all these people, professionals, just lining up, and in the end, everything that they thought and they put their professional status to just fell apart because of my efforts with the female to prove the allegation false. And then that further goes into how the next day, again, an alleged professional profiled me as someone mimicking a pedophile grooming a child. And this female was an adult, and the only psychological issue that she has, other than being a pathological liar, is anxiety. And that doesn't mean anything. A lot of people have anxiety, and the police have there's nothing preventing them from sharing that information. They're not obligated to keep confidential information confidential. A lot of people don't realize that. When a police officer does, he's basically making his own judgment call on that. and there's nothing to prevent them from talking amongst themselves. I'm just using them as an example. This applies to any official or authority person. So that's something a lot of people are not aware of, and that in itself can be very harmful, because when, say, an authority type begins to interact and this information is known to them, their defenses, their whatever fear, whatever, can be heightened, and also end up provoking a situation and escalating it. You know, and why I'm talking about all this, because someone had indicated that because I don't have an official professional alleged diagnosis of post-traumatic stress from the May 4th, 2013 event, it's basically saying, well, you don't have it. In the fact that I'm not interested in speaking to a shrink about this, I guess their claim is, well, you're not helping yourself. Well, when you look at conventional medicine, they have the monopoly on medicine, on, say, for example, prescription drugs and everything else. And there's a lot of people who want to go the natural way and use herbs and all this other stuff. And I'm not saying that I'm not advocating for or against either. I'm just simply saying that when you look at people who try to go the natural way and using natural products, say to, I don't know, help with a cold, it's not recognized in society, and in fact it's more ridiculed. And the same applies with people who have trauma in their lives, dealing with, say, post-traumatic stress and stuff. Just because someone's not adhering to the mainstream narrative, say going to see a shrink, it doesn't mean a person is not suffering from post-traumatic stress or something. And what a lot of people in this alleged profession take credit for, and I've mentioned this even in recent videos, people's circumstances change, their perceptions change, life changes, everything changes, nothing's static. And people do end up resolving their own issues. I'm just going to add that this alleged profession does not help people with the source of the problem. And to make sense of this, for example, where I needed help was seeking justice for what was done to me. And at best, these alleged professionals only address the symptoms, the aftermath, and where people need help, say for example in cases like mine, is to prevent these types of things happening to people, which causes the post-traumatic stress. And over the years with my case, it just got worse and worse as the injustice just piled up more and more. And that's key. And really what we need to do as a society is stop the injustices, the wrongs, to make a difference. And yes, sometimes when events do happen in someone's life, all you can do is deal with the aftermath. But most of the time, a lot of things that people are dealing with can be prevented in real time. And my situation now, in the direction that I'm heading, and whatever. It's the aftermath. And when you look at the drug industry for this alleged profession, those drugs are actually killing people in one way or another. They're unhealthy. And I'm not telling anyone not to take their drugs. I'm just simply sharing my knowledge base on the topic. If you want to know more, a good place to start is a documentary called The Marketing of Madness. Anyway, so just because I don't adhere to mainstream psychology and all this stuff doesn't mean that I'm not suffering from issues. And the post-traumatic stress, I go through it throughout the day. Sometimes I'll just break down crying, and I share that in some videos, not to gain sympathy or anything, but to show that I'm a human being and that I'm going through something, and this is what people go through, and as well to show how false accusations and wrongful convictions and injustice and everything impacts people. And I've said this before in other videos. We hear a lot about people, say, who've been incarcerated 20, 30 years wrongfully, and all of a sudden something comes up and they're vindicated. Everyone's happy, and this is just the very, very tip of the iceberg of wrongful convictions and everything else that we hear about. And we see these people being interviewed, and they're more or less happy, and they just want to get on with their lives. But what we never see is these people alone, what they're going through. They're sitting in a room on the edge of the bed alone, just breaking down, crying, and all this other stuff. There's a lot more dynamics to it than what we would see, say, somebody being released after 30 years. And it's a shame. So I share all this to show. And my state of mind, especially lately, has been very low. Extremely low. And I have a small network of good friends, and they've been trying to cheer me up and everything, and I really appreciate them. I without friends, or for those who have good family, you know what I'm talking about, to have, and there's only so much that other people can do. And my problem right now is I haven't had the opportunity to move on, to move forward, to say, okay, let's see what are the pieces that are left of my life, and try to move forward with that. I haven't had that opportunity, and well, it's it just kind of keeps the wounds over the past 7 years alive. And all the legal matters and everything else ended unsuccessfully in December of 2019. So it's really only been, well, we're coming into the 7th month, but I haven't been able to move forward. And now with all this, the world being shut down and all this other nonsense, it hasn't helped my situation. And in my previous vlog, I said, I'd be happy to have a job or whatever, but things are even tougher now. And the province that I'm in, the economy was plummeting prior to all this. So I just, over the years, has been working through this, trying to deal with it as best as I can, and trying to do things to snap myself out of it when I find myself slipping, which is probably more often than I want to admit. What a lot of people don't realize with this alleged profession, and when you have a formal diagnosis, is it can be used against you to, for example, discredit your credibility, depending on what it is, and it becomes part of your permanent record. And it's although they claim that it's protected like information with a real doctor, it's really not. And they can relate that information, say for example, to a police officer. But and that's important for anyone watching. If you feel yourself slipping, do something. Just go out, sit in the park, do something. Just, because it's very dangerous, especially when you start isolating yourself. It's very dangerous to start spinning out of control, and next thing you know. But it's really hard, and being partly disabled now from that event in May 4th, 2013, 24/7 reminder and pain. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to address, is just because someone's not adhering to the standard that society has blindly accepted doesn't mean that somebody is not suffering. And there's a lot of people out there who are suffering in silence. And I've had over the years people reach out to me, whether it be maybe about my tire history or what I've been going through the past 7 years and stuff, and even now saying I can relate. And I really appreciate when people contact and share their story. And I feel so bad for a lot of people, and even people, homeless people I've seen on the street. I've talked to them, and so I'm not the only one. I just decided to share my story and show how someone's life can be ruined by, for example, false accusations and injustice, and how people end up living on the street, dumpster diving, getting into drugs and alcohol, and I don't do either of those. And a lot of people end up taking their own lives because it's too much. So anyway, nothing really to think about, just sharing some personal thoughts here, and take what you will from this. And thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. I'm going, like right now, with how I'm feeling and the stress that I'm feeling, I just feel like I'm all in knots, like my skin is burning. That's the intensity of what I'm feeling with this post-traumatic stress, and the stress that I've been dealing with for the past little while. Anyway, it just feels like I'm in the twilight zone, because I'm just really upset and really trying to keep my my head together with everything. And it's just, as I said before, too much for too long by too many. And no matter how strong of a will you have, eventually it will break anyone down. And I'm just trying to keep it all together. And whatever you're going through, keep strong, push through, and hopefully you can learn something from my sharing this side of life. I'm not the only person that has gone through injustice or false accusations, but at least I'm showing the side that you will never see, say, on TV or anything, especially with people who have been wrongfully incarcerated for like 20. Hopefully this gets the message out, the human side of what happens when there's false accusations and injustice based on different sets of false accusations. And I think if more and more people actually show this side, people will start to not be so detached when they hear of other people's stories.